Yes, it is once again, folks. It's Friday night on the bus, and as I always say, you know what that means. It must be time for that Friday feeling just after 9 o'clock. I also appreciate the Celtic are playing just now, obviously in a friendly. So if you've came along to join us as well, then thanks for tuning in. Hopefully, as we go on, I'd imagine the crowd will start to pick up. But yes, I did realise when I saw the fixture list, Liam, I was like, oh no, Celtic are playing on Friday night about 9 o'clock. So we're up against our own team tonight in the ratings. But yeah, I'd imagine as the game winds down to a finish, then one of the regulars should come in, I suppose. But first and foremost, Liam, how are you doing anyway, mate?
I'm doing great. I think people should just turn off Jerry McCulloch and just listen to us over tap,
See to
Give
get the
your own
commentary tonight. Oh,
Well,
no.
Phil Meeting and what's happening, I couldn't get any links of that for the game today. So I was
Yeah.
kind of in the doubt and sort of relying on Twitter and that. But I did see somebody reposted Johnny Kenny's goal. And yeah, it looked all right. It looked like, yeah.
Yeah, I've checked the Twitter feed. I've not got a link to it neither. I don't have a Fire Stick or anything as well. I know, boo-hoo. But yeah, I've not seen any of the action. I've just seen the Twitter feed saying that Johnny Kenny scored, and yeah, I've seen the second half. They've changed the entire team, and it's just the whole B team apart from like Stevie Welsh, who's had a bit of first team experience. So yeah, not many familiar names in the team right now. Put it that way. But anyway, before we delve into plenty of things to talk about tonight. Remember, folks, to do all that good stuff. Obviously, helps us out in the old algorithm, helps out the old traction on YouTube as we're still trying to grow this channel. So obviously, hit the like button, helps us out massively. Again, I keep saying it. If people watch Celtic-related podcast type content, then it's more likely to increase our chances of popping up in the recommended. Because yeah, if you like Celtic podcasts, the algorithm will recognise that and hopefully push the channel. Of course, you can hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so yet. If you discover us via such means, via the algorithm, then keep us in your life that wee bit longer. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification, and you will be alerted when this bus is on the road. Social media wise, we now have a Twitter page as well, officially for this channel, because for the last few weeks I've kind of been hijacking the Bhoys Bus Twitter feed to obviously promote the channel and whatnot, promote the show. But now we have actually got a separate one. So if you're on Twitter, X, whatever Elon wishes it to be called these days, we are at Bhoys on the Bus. You can find us there. So look us up, give us a follow. I went through a few of the Bhoys Bus followers today and tried to find as many as possible names that ring a bell. And you can only follow so many accounts in a day. I didn't want to get to that stage, Liam, where it says you cannot follow anymore. So I followed a few familiar names. But yeah, of course, if you are on Twitter and you want to give this channel's Twitter account a follow, then do so at Bhoys on the Bus. Now, who is in our chat tonight? Who has came along and has took their Friday night seat? Liam, let's have a wee look. We've got Patrick McLaughlin. He is in. Jim C is in. Ian McIntosh is here. Of course, Graham Tyrrell's here. Has he got the klaxon ready? I have got a question coming tonight about the klaxon. We have to discuss that because there's something very interesting about the klaxon we'll need to address going into the new season. Steve-O's in. Celtic World Order podcast is there. Fallon Partridge is in as well. Oh, Liam, you're in. You're in as well, Liam. Imagine that. You're in the chat too, my man. But yeah, thanks everybody for coming along. And say, take your seat on your regular Friday service as we get underway. And yeah, I guess we will start, Liam, with some breaking news. Let's get the breaking news graphic on the go, because just a couple of hours ago it was announced, Liam. Celtic's got a new signing tonight, and it is, of course, this guy. Inamura has signed. Hayato Inamura is now a Celtic player. And so again, similar to the Callum Osmond one, it's probably a badly kept secret because we kind of knew it was happening anyway. It was reported obviously with Osmond like 10 days or so before he was announced that he'd already passed a medical and whatnot. So Celtic just dragged it out a little bit. We heard from Japanese media that, Inamura had left Japan to fly and sign for a overseas club, which of course turned out to be us, a badly kept secret. But yeah, Celtic officially announced it tonight. I do believe he is at the City Stadium, and less at Hampden just now watching his new teammates. But yeah, he was announced tonight. also on Tuesday night, I was on with Connor and I was on with Mick, and we were discussing it. I did not realise that the transfer fee was as low as what it is. These are one of these type of transfers you'd expect to be in that kind of couple of million type of punt. But no, 250,000 Liam. That's what we paid for him. So yeah, what's your feelings, Liam, on that one?
Honestly, I think it's just a punt in the dark, that one. Doesn't look like a Rodgers signing to me. But I don't know. You never know. It's a market that's so foreign to us as football fans and just with such little access to it. That, yeah, you don't know what these players are going to be like. I thought Kobayashi was going to be a player. You know, the first time I see him came in out, highlight reel, but you can't tell with Japanese defenders. They attack the ball early a lot different than us, you know. So, yeah, it's one of the things like. You know what you're getting with a forward, right? Because you can see, you got pace and you get trickery and all that sort of stuff. With a defender, you don't know what sort of systems he's played in and all that, or what he's going to be like with the aggressiveness of Scottish players. I know there's tough players in Japan and all that as well, but I think we've got a bit more of a culture of more agricultural type football now and again, and when you're in that position where you have to play physically and all that, might be more that can be demanded on him as just a person, that type of guy. I think Trusty suffers for that as well. I don't think he's used to his playing as rough as what we play at. American football, fairly civilized, you get fights in the parking lot and after the games and stuff like that, everybody, but it's nowhere near as what you just, like when you play against guys that played in South America or Eastern Europe and stuff. Different game entirely. It's like you've got to be more physical and more aggressive and have more fight in you. And yeah, so I hope he's coming. He's ready for a fight. Let's get him in there, see what he can do. Hope we get to see what he's like.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I said on Tuesday night, I'm kind of struggling to see what the plan is with this guy because, again, we keep hearing stories that he's strictly a left-sided centre-back, which is interesting given we've got two currently and there seems to be no rumours about either of them leaving. So, again, you think, is he going to come in and be left-back? Is he going to be covered there? But, again, the Japanese football experts are telling us he's strictly a centre-back. So, again, bit of a mystery there. Are Celtic going to try and reaccustom him to that position, perhaps? Or is it a case, as I speculated on Tuesday night, are we going to look at something like Liam Scales becoming the auxiliary left back? I know there's a couple of people in the comments afterwards were like, God, please no. I know you and I were willing it quite a lot over the last couple of years on Friday nights about, hey, wasn't Liam Scales a left back before he joined us? Didn't he play there for Aberdeen when we sent him on loan? And there was a couple of games, Mick definitely, I didn't imagine this, Mick said to me on Tuesday night, I was like, I'm sure there was a couple of games around about the turn of the year last season, around about the time that the Greg Taylor rumours that he wasn't going to sign a new deal, and it felt like Brendan was giving him some tough love. And Liam Scales definitely came on and played at left back in a few games against like Kilmarnock in the Scottish Cup. I'm sure he came on quite late in that game, and it's like, I wonder if this is what he's thinking is the long-term vision. To say right now, if this boy is strictly a centre back and he isn't going to be retrained to play at full back, then yeah, we're now sitting with three left-sided ones. We've got a right-sided one in Carter Vickers, which is injury prone. Obviously, there's a vote going round about injury that he's been carrying over the summer, though I believe he's had an operation on it. But again, we know Carter Vickers is a sketchy injury record, Liam. That how long is he away from another layoff, unfortunately? And it's like, where are all the right-sided centre backs? Where are all the right-sided defenders getting linked with us right now? Because yeah, we seem to be a bit lopsided, Liam. That's my biggest concern about this transfer right now.
Yeah, I think it's where we need the most experience to come in. Alistair Johnson's still to come back, and okay, Canada run. Canada didn't play well. They got knocked out early of the Gold Cup. So I'm waiting for him to come back. He didn't have a great season, and it seems to be hampered by injury as well. If you add CCV to that mix, and him being sort of like the daddy figure of that mob, you know what I mean? Like she's our Virgil van Dijk, right? Of that mob now. And when it's just such a big drop off to the next one. It's going to come up and be who's going to lead that line. I really the Austin Trusty thing for me is I don't think you can get any more out of him. I don't think his temperament's right for Celtic. Scales. I want to love Scales. I want to see Scales do well. He seems like a big honest boy and works hard and all the sort of things that people loved about Greg Taylor.
Yeah.
I think Scales has got he's got potential and all that. I'd love to see him get a shot at left back. I was shouting at the telly when you were on a Tuesday night because I didn't have access to my keyboard at the time. I was like, Phil, I've been trying to say that for ages. Let's maybe try Scales in there, in behind Tierney. Because maybe they could both adapt to a similar type style. Whereas if he's got somebody to look up to that's shown him, okay, we're going to play with this more robust left back style where we're going to, play from left back rather than the left back. Now that it's one of our more pivotal players, with a bigger skill set. If Rodgers is putting that part into his shape and his strategy, then that's something as well. Like you want to get you want to get similar, knowing that maybe Kieran Tierney is going to need rested or need substituted. You want someone that's maybe can play the exact same physical type game, and maybe Scales becomes a good student and becomes our Tierney Mark II, and then we use him in that sort of role, and there's not that big change in shape or strategy when we take Tierney off. We can still play in the same type of football and keep building on what we've already built on. So it gives us interest. I still want to see us. I think we should be looking at right now to replace CCV. I think
replace him, not just have a strong backup. You say actually replace, so move him on.
I think we use him as a backup. I think we go out right now to try and say, okay, if we've got money, I'd really like to see us spend. All right, go out and spend 15 to 20 million, or not, say 15. 15 million will get you a really good centre back right now. Okay, who's the next one? Who can we get that can bring the ball out? Who can we get that has that calmness of a CCV, and maybe who has a duality that you could play them both at the same time if you needed to them as well. It's got that versatility to them. That would be good money for us to spend, and then just make it a nice problem to have if they're both fit.
Yeah, well, Graham Tyrrell's agreeing with you. It's one of the things that I think fans don't want to say out loud because obviously Carter Vickers has been fantastic for us, but if he's injured a lot, then it's no good to us. So why not try and find better? We've got the money. Well, why don't we prioritise that as a position that we need to look at? Because right now we keep getting linked with left-sided defenders, and we're very, very short at right side. And as again, I said it the other night about right now if Carter Vickers does get injured, because obviously Naroki looks like he's away. That's happening. He's going to Hanover in Bundesliga 2. Laga Bielka looks to be off to Braga in the Portuguese Primeira Liga. So where does that leave us if Carter Vickers is injured or unable to play? And keep in mind there are three pitches this season, plastic in the Scottish Premiership, Livingston, Kilmarnock and Falkirk. So Stevie Welsh going to be getting the right back starting position at this stage. So it's like we must be looking for better than that. So I mean, it's not a bad shout. I mean, like I say, it's one of the things that a lot of Celtic fans I don't think would say out loud because they're just so protective of Carter Vickers. But I think why not dream big? Why not aim big? We've got the money, Liam.
Aye, and there's good fullbacks out there right now. Again, it's a World Cup year. I always think there's an opportunity to look at one of those guys that might not be getting the first run at a big team, but really wants to impress in his international team. I think that's where the scouts really have to be clever this year, is looking for those opportunities of okay, who can we guarantee Champions League football and have a guy to. I don't want anybody rebuilding their career, but you want someone just having that twilight, very much like, a Joe Hart. We need I think we need to expand that type of thinking to the outfield. So, who's that next one that we can get,
No, definitely as a position that we need to say we need to, we've got the money there, so we can go and flex it a little bit. We keep on talking about it. Although again, there is an argument to be had. Do Celtic need to spend massive amounts, or they just need to spend it smarter? That's always the thing that I always say, where I'm like, you don't need to spend ridiculous numbers of cash to get a quality player. You just need to scout better. We have got a new head scout in place for this summer. This is his first summer window. We'll wait and see what Paul Tisdale and his contacts come up with. So, yeah, we'll need to keep an eye on that. Now, on the subject of defenders, let's just address the two that I just mentioned there. It's over before it really started for the two of them. We're going to look back on Lagerbielke and Naroki, the weird twilight zone that was for the 2 years that both of them were on our books. What happened? What went wrong? Are they really that bad? Again, we've said it enough times about Naroki. The couple of cameos he got at the tail end of last season, was he any better or worse than what we'd seen? No, definitely not. He wasn't the worst Celtic defender I'd seen. People kept harping back to a game at Pittodrie the season before, where Majowski scored a goal where they broke from a corner, and Naroki kept backing off him, and Majowski just bent it into the far corner and whatnot. But he was all right otherwise. I don't think he was terrible. As I say, definitely the worst defender that I've watched. And now he's going off to play in the Bundesliga too. Okay, it's not obviously the top German division, but you've got teams like Schalke in that division. I would bet that they are a damn sight better than teams like St Mirren and Motherwell and Hibs and whatnot. These types of teams. So you're telling me that Naroki wasn't good enough to play against those types of teams week in, week out, but a team from the German second tier sees value in him, enough for him to play. And then the same goes for Lagerbielke, who last season spent a season on loan in the Eredivisie in Holland, and now he's off to the Portuguese Primeira Liga for Braga, who outside of the big three in Portugal, Sporting Lisbon, Benfica and Porto, Braga are probably the fourth or the fifth best team. So it's not even like he's going to like a bottom end team in Portugal. He's going to one of the teams that consistently get into the Europa League, sometimes flop with Champions League qualification. And again, the teams that they're going to be playing week in, week out are damn sight better than most of the teams that we would play in the Premier League. So again, it's like, if they're good enough to go to these levels of teams, then what went wrong? We'll never know, I guess. It's one of these. Brendan sees them in training every week. Wonder what they'll see when they go to their new clubs. What do they see in training every week?
I mean, those are the ones you look forward to when you think, I hope open goals still around when some of these players come back. To figure, like, what the hell happened with the 2 years you had at Celtic? What did you do? What did you do? You did something. You had to do something. And I don't know if it was a discipline thing or I could slap the tea lady in the arse. I don't know what they did. But every time I've seen them play football, I thought both of them have looked better than average of what they've done. The whole judgment against Naroki for the game against Aberdeen, Christ's sake, I mean, if that's what you're going to judge somebody on, that's harsh. Their captain played a cross-field ball across at 2-2 at Ibrox, and that was at home, and got his beat, So, they can't be just judging him on that. Does he think he's too slow? Well, I don't know. I mean, everybody in their team doesn't play at speed anyway. The only time we really see any speed is in the Champions League or when we're getting targeted on the left side. So yeah, I don't really understand it. I thought you could skills, good aggression. I mean, that goal we scored against Aberdeen when we beat them just before the cup final. Jumping, rising up in the air. It was like a long time since we've seen a defender come up. Very rarely do we get them that power and header, like Semenovic used to do it, and you miss that type of football. We just don't seem to have anybody can turn over the results and amount of corner kicks we get, with good headers like that. And you'd think with somebody like that in the team, that would actually build, and it would actually give us a threat, or at least make us, less easier to mark, knowing that you got that thread, and that opens up somebody like Dizan or, CCV at the back post or something, So, yeah, I'm sorry to see them go. I was a fan of both of them, I think, when they came. I liked the idea that this boy had impressed enough to play for Sweden at a young age. He scored a goal for us in the Champions League. And I thought he was one of the outstanding young Swedish stars. and I thought he would have fit right in at Celtic. Young Swedish player coming to us, that it would be just another Henrik, and turned out more of a Guidetti, So
yeah, no,
anyway.
It was the Lagerbielke one in particular. He came in. We had a bit of an injury crisis at the back in that first month or 2 months. Brendan came back and he ended up with. That's how Liam Scales got his opportunity, because of injuries. Liam Scales and Lagerbielke played alongside each other for what was it, like 9 domestic games in a row, and I think we didn't lose any of them, or we didn't concede a goal for like a period. It was like in the league we went 7-8 games without even conceding a goal, and they were playing there. We did lose a cup game to Kilmarnock somewhere in that, but in terms of the league, we went to Ibrox and won 1-0. I can remember that being one of the big results there in that little run. And it was Lagerbielke and Liam Scales. In fact, did we not finish that game? Am I right saying with Ralston, Lagerbielke, not Welsh, Scales, and I want to say Bernabei, was it left back?
Valley.
No, Val, this is Brendan's first season. It was still Bernabei that was there, wasn't it? Was that we were backline in that game? We ended that game and we managed to win it 1-0. So again, we were just held together by tape at that point, but we navigated it in the end. But yeah, again, Lagerbielke, and then he just obviously just fell out the team, and that was that. Remember the whole fiasco as well, when he was going to leave in the initial January window after joining 6 months, and because Carter Vickers had an injury problem, it's like, no, we can't let you go anywhere. We have to keep you. And then he never even got a sniff for the remaining 5 months of the season. So, yeah, we've handled that one terribly. And again, with the money, I know it shouldn't be a big fee, but in the waters that we swim in, Liam, spending $4.5 million on a defender is actually quite big. I believe it was 4.5 on the Rocky, 3 million roughly for Lagerbielke. You're talking 7.5 million to 8 million for 2 defenders that after 2 years are just, that's it. It's done. So again, who did the due diligence there? Who really did the scouting? I know Brendan was only just in the door, but Brendan did obviously say, last sign off on every signing. So right away, for that to happen with A2, it was a wee bit do you though? Do you really, Brendan? And the Inamura one as well. I just remembered that when I said that tonight. There's apparently a quote as well from Brendan, just came back to my head there, Liam. He said something about he's been looking at him for a while in Japan. I was like, that's interesting. I think he's only been playing for 6 months. So you've been looking for him for a while. Has that been the entire 6 months you've been looking at him? So I seen that one was doing the rounds as well regarding his signing. There was a Brendan Rodgers quote about it. So no, Brendan, come on, don't mess with us here, man. I know you've got that Walter Mitty about you a wee bit, but come on, man, you're taking the piss a wee bit with some of these quotes. But hey, that's our Brendan, isn't it? To a T.
Aye. So what do you think of Kuhn then? I know a lot of people have talked about it and stuff like that already, right? You ready to get into it? I mean, let me start. Like, I think it's going to be very interesting that we get to play him right away in a cup with this Como side.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what comes up in the papers and that sort of stuff then. And that will tell you everything that you need to know about the why and all that of him leaving and the character and all that sort of stuff. But it'll be interesting to see what sort of game he plays against us. And,
well, that's true.
And if he has scores, will he go to the fans? Will he go to Rodgers? Will he, although I do hear the Italian Celtic supporters clubs are boycotting the game.
Bergamo's Celtic Supporters Club put out a statement saying that it was due to the prices. Originally, I thought it was going to be something to do with the fact we're playing Ajax, and there's going to be some problems, I think. I've got a funny feeling there may be some issues there because Ajax fans and Celtic fans, bit of a sketchy record when they've met. So I wondered if that's what it was going to be when I saw the statement posted. But it's to do with the pricing, the pricing of the tickets for a friendly, and the Como obviously are hosting it. So at the moment, we're not guaranteed to play Como. Now you're saying, but we could, because if we win the game against Ajax and they win, well, I think there's a third place playoff as well. So if both teams were to lose, so there is still a very good chance that we can play it. It's Al Ali, the other team, I believe, from
right.
Egypt. Is it the Egyptian team? I think it is. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see. We'll see everything about him at that point. You know.
Yeah, I see what he's made of, because I say that celebration, and you alluded to it there, and I've mentioned that a few times now. At the time, I can remember doing the post match with Terry, because we did it for the Dundee United game after we won the league. Me and him jumped on and did that show, and I remember saying at the time I actually was a fan of him doing that, because I thought, good, he's recognised there's been some criticism. This will light a fire under him, because he needed something under him, essentially, because first half of last season, unbelievable. It's the reason why we've got the money we've got for him, just on that 6 months alone, when you actually look at it, because 18 months he's been here, and 6 months of it, he was fantastic. The rest, whatever. But when he did that celebration, even though there was a wee bit of, okay, this if you don't deliver here, this could go badly. But initially I thought, no, this is ignited a fire on him, because he scored 2 that day. That was after his first goal. So I'm all right, okay, Kuhn's up for this now. This will be great. But the 5 games that followed after that, I think he did score a bit of a tap in against Hibs and beat them 3-1. But all the other games, he was just kind of just going through the motions. And then the cup final, to be fair, everybody was dreadful in the Scottish Cup final. So I can't exactly just say it was all Nicolas Kuhn's fault. But yeah, it wasn't a good look in the end to give it all the big licks to the fans and then just have a shocker. But say he now goes off and say it's about 17 million quid it works out at for us. So that's, I say, when you look at the 18 months at Celtic, 6 months of it really, really good, like outstanding. But right now, him coming out the team, is it a big miss? I know it was a lot of numbers wise. Again, you look at the stats. Yeah, it looks like we'll miss him greatly. But again, when you judge it on, I say majority of his time here, would it be a big miss? Not really. So good business in the end, Liam.
Great business, and you know what? Okay, use that as a way to start moving fast. Set the pace with that. So, it's like playing football. You're passing and moving. Okay, so now that you've passed the ball, when am I getting it back? And what we want back is we want a player, right? We want a player now that comes in that's recognised, somebody that the fans can see. They can either see what the potential is in this player, or they already know because the fact that it's recognisable. Somebody we actually know who he played for, and had maybe even seen this guy in a Champions League game or team or two. And because there is, you see those players whose names are coming up all the teams. Some players I only know because I've just seen them on Champions League highlight reels, But it's always the same sort of players year after year that you sort of identify as, oh, he must be a half-decent fullback. I'm hoping we go and we get one of them, or we look and we go for something up and coming that's outside the box. So can I share with you just a wee insight I had the other night when I was watching the Gold Cup, Phil?
Well, you are a man on that side of the Atlantic. You're quite good for telling us a good Canadian or United States-based player. So, Mr. Liam Greenlaw, the scout, who's caught your eye this time?
Right, so US national team, they're in the final on Sunday against Mexico. And they've had an interesting, they got, was it Pochettino is their manager now? Remember he was at Spurs and that. And anyway, he had a lot of his older players missing this year. Pulisic was out. Some of the other players were playing in that Club World Cup right now. So it just shows you sort of level. A lot of the US players, they got players with Dusseldorf and Timo Weah, and it was 3 or 4 of them playing in that Club World Cup. And so they had a chance to pick some younger players and give them a shot. Some of the more like the American best players. And a couple of players that stand out that would completely work in our system that is in their price range. Both young guys, both 21, probably get either in between the $5 and $10 million price range. Both creative players playing with the US national team. One is, I'll give you the easy one first. This is his name, Quinn Sullivan. Now, if that's not a Celtic marketing guy's dream, I don't know what is. That's the John Wayne film on steroids. That's the quiet man amplified, right? That's Quinn Sullivan. You couldn't get a more, for the marketing team and that. And Jerry can go, had you heard anything about Celtic and your Irish roots? Or, you know, and
don't. I actually watched Jerry McCulloch's interview in a mirror, or what they put up on Twitter. I watched it. All the classics were there, all the hits. You know, he just went again. Anyway, sorry, Liam.
No, he'll be the first replaced by a robot. Don't feel sorry for him. Elon Musk is doing a hoopy robot right now, and the first one is going to be the guy asking the questions because they can do it better and more empathetic already, probably, than what Jerry McCulloch can. So, right, so Quinn Sheridan, no bad player. I think he plays with Philadelphia Union. That's the team Trusty played with.
So yeah, that's right, yeah.
And yeah, he's a creative player. He's got a good right peg on him. Looks all right in the left side. I've seen him playing both wings. And so he's up and coming for the US men's national team. I don't know if he'll get a game this weekend, maybe come on as a sub. The one guy that they got right now looks box office. They got this young guy, Diego Luna. He's 21 years old. Parents are Mexican. He plays for the US national team. And this guy, he's Diego. He's just got Diego vibes all around about him. Maradona. He's got that. He's a small guy, but he's built. You know, he reminds you those, like, you know, those players that came through South America, ended up at Juventus. Who was the one that used to have the nut bar? Started with a V, and he was like a tank, right? And that's what they say that this guy Diego Luna would fight a tank with his bare hands. You know, he's aggressive, and he's good, and he's creative, and I think he'd be an absolutely brilliant replacement for Hatate. If there's anybody out there, get a chance, watch some of his highlight reels, or get a chance to watch him in the Gold Cup. USA Mexico is going to be a banger of a game, by the way, and let's see if Diego Luna's on that, because here's the thing: we're all Celtic, right? We support moon gods. Aztecs support moon gods. This can be a ritual, you know. Take £10 million, we just put it out to the sun gods and all that. Get this player, bring him, because I think this is a player that's looking for an altar. He's looking to basically explode this year so that he can get in that US national team that's going to be on the 250th anniversary of the USA. And by the way, happy 4th of July, all you Yankees out there.
As indeed, yeah.
So I've got 3 Uncle Sam costumes today because I live in the tourist area. Like, they're lapping up. There's thousands of it. This is Canada. Yeah, so Diego Luna, he just looks like one of these guys that's going to take over. And I think giving him profile of us being in the Champions League, or him helping us get into the Champions League, yeah, he's just got energy about him. He's just got excitement. If they could sign that and they come that, like, that deal's already been done and we're just waiting for the tournament to end. I mean, I think they should have announced it today on the 4th of July if they signed them, you know, to go along with the American line, by the way. So we're going to pitch his American gear, you know. Yeah. We've got a relationship already. Let's look at maybe bringing in some of these players that could excite some of the fans as well. And the Diego Luna one, yeah, that one would excite me. I'd like to see him in the hoops. I think he'd be a baller.
Yeah, that baseball shot that they released in your top of the American line was actually better than probably that away shot that they released last week. Somebody did a mock-up of it with Daffabet and Adidas on, or the badge and all that on it, and it looked like a better away shot than what they gave us last week. And also, thanks to Gordon C, the midfielder you're looking for was Arturo Vidal, the Chilean midfielder.
Yes.
I am pretty sure that Vidal and I want to say Raja Nangolan, who played for Belgium, played at Inter Milan at the same time, and that was just a midfield that just woke up and chose violence that day. They were absolute animals, they two. Very similar as well with the Mohawks and whatnot, the way they were built. But yeah, I can remember them being a midfield tandem. I want to say for Inter in Italy, but yeah, Arturo Vidal, I remember him. Now I've got a couple of comments starred regarding the Kuhn one, so let's have a wee look. So Brown Warrior has said that, Phil, I think Kuhn chucked his dummy out in January when Jota appeared as returning Messiah. As up to that point, Kuhn was flavoured of the month and a fan's favourite. I remember on many episodes last season on the Friday Feeling, Liam, I speculated that, and I did always say I really hope this isn't the case. I hope Kuhn's more professional than that. And of course, remember what happened not long after? Brendan Rodgers did find a way for all three of them to play in the same team. And of course, it meant Dyson Maeda playing through the middle, which you were obviously a very, very big fan of. And Maeda did fantastic for us through the middle. But it showed that, okay, if Nicolas Kuhn is having a bit of a huff because Jota's back and now he feels like Lamb getting forced out, Brendan Rodgers has shown I can play all three together and it works. But it was something that I definitely speculated Brown Warrior, and I just thought at the time, surely not. But we're all on the same line of thinking there, Liam, on that one.
That's the one. I'm surprised at Rodgers for placating it for so long, for making that acceptable. I mean, I think if he'd down tools, why give him so many chances to bring it back up? Is it when we were trying to up the resale value of him to sort of hope that, okay, well, if he at least pads the numbers and we don't see the pouting and all that, the optics of the numbers on page looks really good. And so, yeah, you could get, more amount of money from him. But, I mean, I don't know. If I'm a coach and I'm getting a player like that, he's going to have I don't know, what significant reason could you have for downing tools? Okay, so you didn't get one to the away at the time where the club could trade you, or we just idiotically sold our striker and needed to hang on to you as well. It still doesn't show good character, no matter who's signing you at that point. If we were signing a player and they go, yeah, he's only ever been at places 2 years and does tend to down tools. Well, wait a minute, we did sign him. That's Nicolas Kuhn.
Yeah, he's I say at the time I can remember it. There was a wee period up till about the Bayern Munich game where, because I think the Bayern Munich game most fans accept is probably the last great Nicolas Kuhn performance, the home game and the away game, because he scored the goal in the first leg that got disallowed after, what was it, 10 seconds or something like that. It was Nicolas Kuhn that cut inside from the right hand side, and it was a VAR decision that disallowed it, and that blew the roof off the place in the stadium. I can tell you firsthand, that was ridiculous. And again, had that stood, what could have been. Obviously, he got the goal out in Munich, but yeah, after that, it was just going through the motions. But I say Brendan Rodgers did go out of his way to accommodate him in that sense. And also, Anton Hogan's left foot, guy out of Andor. I said that Liam before we went on. I went, Diego Luna, I'm sure he's in one of the Star Wars things. He's in Andor. That's it. Yes, indeed. I knew I'd heard that name before. I knew it. There's another Kuhn opinion as well. Ian Mag says, I wasn't wishing Kuhn away, but if he wants out, it's the right time. And that, of course, is the other thing we're talking about, downing tools. Regarding Kuhn, we talk about the infamous COVID season that we try not to talk about. What happened at the start of that season after we lost to Ferencváros in the Champions League? Neil Lennon did that quite snarky interview, which would become a running theme that season. And he passed a lot of blame onto the players and alluded to there's a lot of players that just don't want to be here. And then what happened? The transfer window closed, and if there was a lot of players, Neil, that didn't want to be here, then they all appear to still be here. So maybe Celtic have learned, if a player makes any indication they want out, look at Kyogo last season as well, changes his agent. Right after his agent change, he's a weird link to Manchester City in the summer. And then in January, he's sold before we've even played our last Champions League game. As soon as we qualified, that was him away. So again, was at the club just as soon as a player makes an indication they want to go, off he pops. And with Nicolas Kuhn, could have been the case again, because I do feel that could we have pushed the boat and got even more? Could we have pushed our luck and got even more money? It is a lot we have got, but with the numbers, could we have justified going for more? Possibly, but there's also a case of maybe Celtic just looked at it and went, he is a bit of a journeyman. He has maybe got a reputation for this. Let's just, whatever we can get, upwards of 15 million, we take it, and that could be the case. So if the player wants out, I'd agree it's good business, Liam.
Well, I think it's good for the club as well, for the fact that young players and all that are coming back to training. Now, he was training this week with the team, and the last thing you want when you're training, especially when you're trying to onboard new players and new ideals and all that, and you want to create as a positive environment as you possibly can. So the last thing you need is a player that's hemming and hawing. It's like, hurry up and sell me, or I hate it here, or I don't like the facilities, or better in Germany, or the fucking food's rubbish, or, everybody hates me. Whatever it is, you don't want that negative shit around when you're trying to build something at the very beginning of a new season. You don't want to dilute the product and all that by somebody being out of sorts and not in line with where you want to go. And I think maybe we've got a good start this year by getting the squeaky wheels out the door first, right? So Lagerbielke, Naroki, obviously they can't be happy, and then you've got Greg Taylor, he's vocal in the dressing room. He wasn't happy. He wanted to play first team football and be a legend and all that. So he's gone, right? So, I think it's a clean slate now. And it's a clean slate for Rodgers maybe to just sort of address some of the stuff that happened last year as well, of complacency creeping into the team. And I hope he sets the responsibility for that and uses that a way to motivate this year's team. Because that's it. We're starting at zero.
Remember, Liam, I know we don't want to try and remember this game because it was absolutely garbage, but remember the defeat at McDermott Park? Remember the really, really turgid 1-0 loss? And remember Kuhn missed a sitter on the line and we were 1-0 down. And at halftime, I want to say Jeffrey Schlupp got hooked at halftime, and did Nicolas Kuhn get hooked at halftime as well, I think? Yeah. And Brendan Rodgers after the game said things along the lines of, some of my players are looking for an easy game. And again, get the body language experts out, everybody. Just like with John Kennedy in 2021, get the body language experts. Nicolas Kuhn's body language does generate this idea that he was looking for an easy game. He's very lethargic at times, and maybe he was one of the ones he was talking about, because that sitter that he missed as well was absolutely mad. I know the St Johnstone player recovered to pull off a half decent tackle, but you can't miss from a yard out. It was a tap-in. But yeah, he was hooked at half time, and I want to say there was a couple of weeks there when he was out the team. I'm pretty sure he didn't get a start for a few weeks as well. And yeah, so because Jota got injured Dundee United game, so that was still to come. So Jota was still fit and firing at that point in time. Right. So I couldn't definitely dropped out of the team for a few weeks at that point. Of course, we've been knocked out by Bayern Munich at that stage. So yeah, maybe the halftime substitution gave us a bit of clues there about how Brendan Rodgers looked at Nicolas Kuhn as well.
I wish him well, but I think it opens our eyes to what we should be looking for as well. I think he had a fantastic 6 months run, and that's it. Cheerio, we got as much as we could for him, and yeah, I'm ready to move on. But as I said at the beginning, let's spend that money now. Let's get in somebody recognisable. Let's spend 9-10 million, whatever we need for a winger or an attacking midfielder to come in.
Aye, we've got in the chat as well. David Stalker has said Diego Luna is brilliant. Bring him in. There you go, Liam. Somebody's on board with you already, mate. Yep. They're all in. Say we've got a man out in that side of the Atlantic, folks. He's our scout out there in Canada. He's watching the Gold Cup right now. He's watching the Club World Cup. He's keeping his eyes peeled to see if anybody stands out. So Diego Luna, so he can moonlight with his Hollywood schedule as well and play for us. So yeah, come on over, Diego. Jim C was asking, do Rapid Vienna have a sell-on clause? They do not, but here's a strange one. The Ajax reserve team, young Ajax, do have a sell-on clause because they trained them. They're entitled to some of the transfer fees, so some of it will go to them. When I saw that today, I was like, what? How does this work? But apparently, yeah, every transfer he makes, money goes to them because that's the youth system that he came through. I didn't realise he came through Ajax's youth system. I thought he came through a German team's, a youth system, but nope. Came through Ajax. And a point to back up what you were just saying there, Monty says, I'm happy with the fee for Kuhn, only if he is replaced by better. And that, of course, is the issue. And we have to keep an eye peeled and see what they do. Is Benjamin Nigren going to be that guy? Is he already in the door? Oh, Liam's disconnected there. He's away. But I did know some sound issues with Liam, so he's probably just going to quickly disconnect and he'll be back in a moment. So I'll just hang for it. So yeah, Benjamin Nigren, is he the answer? Is he going to be the guy, folks? Because could the answer already be in the door? I know some people may look at it again, transfer fee or 1.7 million, 1.8 million, whatever it was that we spent on him. But keep in mind, he was going to be out of contract at the turn of the year because the seasons in Denmark run March to November. So he's only got a few months left, so they will want to take whatever they get. If he wasn't out of contract, say he had 3 years left, what would we be getting, or what would we have to spend on Benjamin Nigren in order to, get to get him in the door? Could it have been upwards of 5 million, 6 million? So I'm not too put off by that. But I think, going by I know there's some talk about could he be like play a number 10 role, like an attacking midfielder. Perhaps he will. I know there's some talk about that online. But I think he's mostly been deployed as a right wing forward. So I would think that is probably going to be the instant replacement for Nicolas Kuhn's departure. I was just talking about Benjamin Deegran there with the chat, just saying that is the answer already in the door? So a lot of fans are not quite looking at Deegran as this big signing, but again, you've got to take consideration. He only had 4 months left on his contract. He had to go now, or else they were going to get nothing for him in January when he walks for zero. If you still had 3 years left on his contract, for example, Liam, how much would he have cost? I think you're looking upwards 6 million or whatever, which would for us be a big outlay. So I think I'm not judging it on the fact that we only paid 1.7 and putting them in that bracket of, say, an O or a Bangura or something like that. This player who's worth about 2 million quid, it's not. I'm not putting in that category. But again, there's a lot of talk about he's more a number 10. But I did see somebody on Twitter today very, very passionately arguing with people about the position he plays, and apparently on the website Transfermarkt, it's got where he's been deployed, right wing, left wing, striker, all different positions. Apparently he's played like 75 games for Nordjylland at right wing, which is the most. So you've got to imagine that's going to be his position. And of course, where did Nicolas Kuhn play for us? He played on the right side of the forward line, cutting in on his left foot. And I believe we talked about this before, Benjamin Deegran is left-footed. So, as I say, maybe the replacement's in the door, Liam.
I mean, they seem to have a similar style. Never mind the money. I like the fact that he's playing for Sweden and he scored 2 goals for them already. So, okay. So, I think we got lucky with that transfer. I think that's really good business. Again, just see, that's great. But Christ, we can't be talking about the same transfers every week. Celtic's got to start moving it into high gear. So, yeah, I'm hoping after this Gold Cup, come on, give us some surprises. See if there's some, up and coming influential players for this tournament that, somebody's got to be scouting it. Can't just be me.
I know exactly. I say you're doing the job for them. Maybe somebody at Celtic's watching. Who knows? But a couple of after me saying about the right thing, Alistair Jack has said Deegran's number 10, and then Brendan Rodgers apparently has defined him as a number 8 tonight. Brilliant. So he's a jack of all trades. Let's just agree to disagree, everybody, and just say he's a jack of all trades. He's what is something that I always say we need, Liam. We need a utility player. We need a guy that can slot into a few different positions. I always find it's a useful thing to have in your team. So maybe that is Benjamin Deegran to a T, but we do need more, and we do need to, I say it's not a case of going and spending stupid amounts of cash. Just need to spend it better. And I say we've got this new scouting system, Paul Tisdale. There was talk about David Pleat, the former Tottenham manager, was now part of the scouting setup as well. With all his contacts, he's got a wealth of knowledge in the game, given he's been in it he's in his mid-80s now. So yeah.
I listened to the one with Simon Ferry where he was talking about Jermaine Defoe. He was talking about Jermaine Defoe, and Jermaine Defoe was saying, Platey, yeah, he's at Celtic. And he was saying the knowledge that man has in football. He says he would go to a game with him and it'd be like 2 junior teams playing, and he knew every player on both teams. And he says he could tell you everything about those players. He says it was amazing. You wonder if the young boy from Fulham, is that a David Pleat? Is that a David Pleat recommendation?
That's what I'm thinking, Liam. That's what I'm thinking about him. Yep.
You think so?
I think so. I feel like as well, because again, what are we really basing this on? It's different with Moussa Dembele when he came from Fulham, and he was obviously a youth player there that got into the first team. So you had a bit more exposure with him. Patrick Roberts came through Fulham's youth academy, but he'd already transferred to Manchester City, and that was a City group loan. They wanted him to get some first team experience. So they'd already taken the chance, they'd already looked at him and whatnot, and they brought him in. Matt Riley did come through Fulham's youth academy as well, but of course he left during COVID to go and basically play, because he wanted to just play football, and he went to Milton Keynes Dons and built himself up a bit. This boy hasn't played in any of the top professional leagues yet at all. He's only played in the reserve league. So what really have Celtic based it on? There's got to be a lot of you've got to imagine with David Pleat, wealth of knowledge, he's got probably the contact book he's got. There has to be people that he knows within Fulham's coaching academy that have got onto him and said, by the way, this boy, you might want to take a look at this one. And I think the big clue is the fact he was offered a contract extension at Fulham. Okay, don't get me wrong, that might not guarantee that he's going to be in the first team playing the Premier League. Could have been, we'll get you renewed, we'll send you on loan to a team in the English Championship or something. But he's obviously knocked that back. The Championship is still a high level, let's be honest. It's better than, some of the teams you'll play in the Scottish Premiership. But again, he's looked at it and thought, well, I'm not coming up here to be in the B team, because that was the biggest red flag for most fans when they saw the profile of that boy. This is another B team sign, and this is one that's going to be playing in the 50th Scottish football. But I don't think so. I think if he has knocked back Fulham's contract offer to sign for us, he's not coming up here to play in the amateur league in the 5th tier, 6th tier, whatever it is that Celtic B team played in. He's going to be in and around the first team, and I think he will get some chances. But I said on Tuesday night, it's just about when he does get those chances, he has to take them.
Yeah, I'm hoping we're doing the same. Like, this is somebody that's been recognised that, okay, he's developed late, but and he was scouted when he was young, but it took him an extra year to develop. And it might be, you see some people fill out. My brother was small until he was about 18, and then he's big now, massive, and it changed him as a football player as well. And you've seen so many guys, like, I remember playing against guys when they were in their teens, and then you see in their late 20s, and they're completely differently developed and more athletic, but just wiser, calmer, everything, and become really, really good players. And you've got to look at that as professional as well. They're hopefully there is people that do have an eye on that development, and that is one of those sort of in the nose. It's like, listen, I suppose fell through the cracks. You've got an absolute baller here. Come and get him. And I think Dembele was like that. Other player that came through that academy at the same time, Maurice Jens.
Maurice Jens, that was the other one. Yeah, I remember there was a graphic put up on Twitter and there was 4 players on it. I couldn't remember who the 4th player was. Maurice Jens, that's it, yeah. The other one, I don't, again, think about how he was treated. We were talking about centre-backs, and it's like, I would have kept him. Like, I don't know at the time why Jens was that wasn't even a Brendan thing. That was an Ange Postecoglou thing. I can remember we got him on loan. He played for most of the first half of that season due to injury to Carter Vickers. I remember Ange Postecoglou, really strange comment in an interview where he said after one of the games, saying, yeah, he's played more football than we had planned at this point. But again, it's like, he's not played that bad. A bit similar to the Rocky, but it's like, he hasn't been that bad, has he? But the way Ange put him down there, like, he's played more than we'd expected or we wanted to at this stage. And it's like, really, if this is him raw and not good enough in your eyes, then he's no bad. I would have kept Maurice Jens at the time, really. But
yeah, it was frustrating to Ange. I mean, that's the thing with coaches as well. When you have to believe that what they say training is, better than what you're seeing with your eyes week in, week out. That somehow there's some magic equation that the extra training or that effort and the goals you score in training somehow equals out not performing on the pitch, because as a lot of us, we just don't see it. I thought Jens was a good player. I thought his physicality. Yeah, there's frailties in every coach's, and that's the one I saw definitely in Ange. It's like, I know he must have took too many touches or something or passed it back, and Ange went after.
I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure Maurice Jens scored an overhead kick against Kilmarnock in one of his first games for the club. We beat them 5-0 down at Rugby Park, and I'm pretty sure Jens scored a kind of scuffed overhead kick, but nevertheless, an overhead kick for a defender. It wasn't too bad at all. I'll bring up a few comments that have came in. Alistair Jack says Liam's better than our scouts. There you go, Liam, mate. You've got a job. If you fancy leaving this podcast, there you go, mate. You can go and work for Celtic. Ian McIntosh saying Engels looks like a number 8, never a number 10 anyway. Well, Ian, I would love Arnie Engels to tell me what he is actually good at, because I keep saying this. Is he a 6? Is he an 8? Is he a 10? What is his best role? It's up to the manager to find that. It's up to the player himself to know that. But I just feel like at the moment, after the season that we've had there, Engels has had some flashes, some moments where you go, okay, he obviously has a bit of quality to him, no doubt about it, but we need to harness it in his strongest position in the midfield, and I don't think we've established what his role is yet. Is it a case of, again, say it quietly, Liam, because some fans don't want to admit it, is Callum McGregor maybe part of the problem because he is undroppable? Does Arnie, because I thought Engels played quite well when he was the deepest lying midfielder, which is Callum McGregor's territory. Is that part of the problem? Say it quietly. Some Celtic fans don't want to hear it out loud, but you've brought it up about the Scott Brown stuff. Did we play Scott Brown longer than we needed to? If Callum McGregor is in a position where Engels is actually his best, and he's a record signing, remember, we need to try and get the best out of Engels here. And I think when he was sitting deep, I think he was at his best, but that's Callum McGregor's neck of the woods. So there's a conundrum, Liam.
Has a conundrum, and it's Rodgers' conundrum, and I'm glad it's his. But he's got Kieran Tierney coming in as a real bona fide leader as well in this team. And so when you take Callum off, it's not the same as last year, where it's like all of a sudden you're left with Greg Taylor cheering you on. You want a proper leader out there that's going to rally the guys and get them going. And people think it's going to be Alistair Johnson, but no, I think it's going to be Tierney. Tierney I hope that this turns into his team, because he's gave up a lot. He's sacrificing. Professionals, still millionaires sacrificing, But yeah, he could have went to Italy. He could have done a lot of other things, and he chose to come back and play for the team we grew up with. And I really, really hope that we have shown him or outlined some sort of reciprocal plan or idea that says, you know what, yeah, we appreciate this. Okay, you're coming back to Zona Free. We're doing it. Here's how we'd like to compensate that. And it's not just money. It's like, we want to build a team around you. We want to go into, 2027 will be 60 years of the Lisbon Lions. I want to see us making an indent in Europe at that point, and Kieran Tierney being the one that, starts this new wave of boys coming. So it's like, build a team around him. And he's at that age, so we should be moving everything that we can right now to sort of fit his playing style, fit boys around him as well that can create something. I'm hoping that Rodgers has that in mind, that we have an actual playing style now that we can adapt to, knowing that we've got, a luxury Rolls Royce of a type player. Okay, I think you need to bring that in. You're not going to impress Kieran Tierney like winning tackles and risking injury to get through and slip a ball through to Yang and he Skypes out at the stadium. That's not going to impress anybody. That's going to make him pick up the phone and talk to European.
Get out of here. I think Kieran Tierney is the next club captain. I think it's quite obvious that he will be the club captain. He would fill in wearing the armband in his previous time at the club when he was only like a teenager, early 20s at that point. So I think it's a quite natural progression that when Callum McGregor hangs it up, then it's going to be Kieran Tierney. Because realistically, if Tierney stays obviously fit and he can play multiple games a season, I don't think Tierney will leave us again. I think he'll be with us till he retires. He'll just keep on going now, and he would become the club captain in my eyes. I think it's a very obvious choice. So yeah, that could be a thing this season, but it's a case of we don't be so panic-stricken if Callum McGregor isn't playing or has to come off or whatnot. We've got a very good, competent leader there in Kieran Tierney. So see, I think Engels, we need to see him really push on this coming season after what we paid for him. And yeah, I definitely feel from the few different positions that he played last season, moving around in that midfield, I think when he was sitting deepest was his most effective. So it's up to Brendan, as you say. It's his conundrum. He needs to find a solution.
Hey, I noticed something else this week. I was watching Celtic training unfiltered.
Oh yeah, before the paywall option came up, you only got 1.5 minutes of it. Fantastic.
Before it was actually filtered. It's called Training Unfiltered. Mm-hmm. And it's the same one. You could just replace it with AI. It's almost like a prompt where you start the wide shot, then let's focus on a corner of the net or a corner flag, and let's just hang on a beat too long. And then we'll
look at Lennoxtown Castle as well. Get Lennoxtown Castle in shot.
So rough. Anyway, I noticed we still have the young goalkeeper. Black guy that was English boy that was supposed to be the backup, the understudy for Joe Hart, and he was going to be the next England goalkeeper. And I wondered about him. It's like, have we still got him? Because I thought he was up and coming, and you always see him in the training and the montages and that. But then we just went out and got, was it Ross Doohan? And fill in the club trained role or the thing. So he's club trained, I believe. Is he not at that stage of development? I mean, must be 23.
I know he was at loan at Dunfermline, I'm pretty sure. within the last year or two. I know he did a loan spell there. I'm pretty sure. Hold on, I've got the lineup saved from tonight. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So see on the bench there. Yes. Aye, that's it. I'm not going to try in case I butchered his name, but yes, he was on the bench tonight. Doohan did play first half and second half, though. I did see the second half lineup, and he was playing. But yeah, I'm pretty sure he had a loan spell at Dunfermline. But yeah, I know what you mean. There was a lot of talk about him, being brought on, but now we've got 3 keepers, and they're going to be the first team options. And Ross Doohan will get very limited moments on the park if he does get any this season. His job is mostly going to be the warm-up before the game, just being in goal for the warm-ups. That's essentially it, unless there's an injury crisis to the goalkeepers. Because Sinisalo showed last season that if he does have to play, he's a more than competent goalkeeper. So at least we've got that back up to Kasper Schmeichel.
Must have a good night out, Phil. That seems to be the requirements. DJ,
yep. Aye, the Greg Taylor treatment. No, good personality in the dressing room. A couple other wee comments as well that came up. Alistair Jack was telling us that. Let me go and find it. I had it start there. Yeah. The doing better scouts. Oh yeah, this was Welsh was crap tonight. Get rid. So Alistair obviously watched the game, but hey. Don't need to tell me that one. I think we need to move on from Stevie Welsh, unfortunately. Jim C said our youth policy looks non-existent. The boy McCardle has to be in the first team squad this season, in his opinion. That is definitely a name that many people are pushing to get a few more chances this season because he looked quite lively at the tail end of the season there. Also regarding Osmond, Green Day 67 says he's meant to have great pace, and also Alistair Jack adds that Osmond might do a Gary Hooper. Maybe he will. It'll be not too bad if he does. But yeah, before we go, Liam, because we've just done over an hour there, we need to address a big issue. Graham Tyrrell's just put the Claxon sign in there. So, Liam, Greg Taylor's gone. Who's going to take the Claxon this season? Who's going to get the big bright red light? Who's getting that this season? Who's going to be the natural successor to Greg Taylor on that one for Liam's Claxon?
Well, first of all, this is not about me. This is about Greg Taylor.
I know.
An innocent party in this whole development here. Not choose to be like, okay, who can I single out? Who's crap that could just annoy me at every game? And it has got to me. Honestly, it's the longest dragged out transfer I've ever seen. Oh my God. It was like, wait and see. I mean, it's just, I still don't think it's done. I saw his wee vignette for Pauk with a.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, I mean, come on, you put him in a wee tiger suit or something. It's like,
Did you see Chris Boyd's reply to him on
Instagram?
Did you see that?
He's got this good part of there, but I watched his interview and I was like, all right, try to like him, don't be a dick, right? And I was like, aye, he's going to start a family. Good luck to him and all that. And then he started talking some absolute pish about, just sort of seeing when I come into the team and then I've seen off all these other guys. Oh, Jesus, no, he's doing the wee leader thing again. It's like, no, stop it, Greg. I was just starting to like you again. Now you've ruined it. So anyway, I know. I think they like to not have goals scored against them in Greece.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe the guys that figured out civilization and philosophy and all that can maybe figure out how an inverted left back works, because I sure as hell don't know how to do it. So good luck. Welcome. Have him. Please play this on Pulp TV. He's great. Grr, fight.
I know that video of getting interviewed by the Greek Jerry McCulloch as well, no doubt, at the other end. But no, in all seriousness, I know we laugh about the Claxon and that. The Claxon, no, Liam doesn't choose. The Claxon will choose them. Basically, that's how it's going to work. I did predict it at the tail end of last season. I said Adam Eder, I think, will be the one. But we've got a few people in the chat. A few people said the Brendan Bell. I think it was Graham Tyrrell saying the Brendan Bell. He said it's going to be. I hope not, because we're going to have to talk about Brendan Rodgers a lot. So hopefully not. I don't need to keep setting it off, but yeah.
The Gucci Crocs set me off already. That's like, so if you look at it, it's like the Gucci Crocs. It's like, how could I mess up this 40 anymore? Where's Conor McGregor? Hey, Conor, come here.
Oh, Oh no.
Get in here.
Of all the people to get a picture
Come
with.
on, Rogers. You're clever. Chris Sutton says, you're better than that. Brendan, you're better than that. Better than that,
Yes,
Brendan.
you are. I know when I saw that picture, I was like, no, not him. Don't get a picture with him.
No,
Oh
I
man,
know.
honestly. But
Guys, it's got baby as well. What's these guys wanting about? Oh, gangsters with babies and that. Greg Taylor's bringing it on the park, you know, and he's like swan about with babies and all that. You hard man. I don't know. I'm missing something here. I've got all too fast, Phil.
well, before we go there, I've got one more point that just came up in the chat. I think worth talking about before we go. We'll stay on for another 5-10 minutes or so. Brown Warrior has said, "I'm concerned that Kasper Schmeichel won't come back the player he was before his injury. Could we see a changing of the guard in nets? Because that injury turned out to be a thing that cost us massively, because we were under the assumption he was back. He was playing for the couple of weeks running up to the cup final. So you would have thought, that's it, it's done. But no, he was still suffering from it because, of course, what we learned from the cup final and from the penalty shootout is Jimmy Tellin let slip, not let slip, but basically he was talking to the press during Aberdeen's victory parade, and he said that they had a strategy to get it to penalties because they knew from the games that Kasper had played since coming back from his injury, he was trying to avoid diving to his right. So they knew when they got to penalties, try and put everyone to the right-hand side. I think every one of them did, bar one, they put it to the left, but majority went to the right, usually up into the top corner as well to, make sure Kasper couldn't get near it. Because when I heard that, I thought, well, it didn't matter if Alistair Johnson scored because he probably would have stepped up then and put the next one away anyway. So we were on to plums, unfortunately. But of course, the goal we conceded in the cup final was it was just a freak, but it did look like the way he was diving. He was obviously diving onto his right side. Was he in two minds suddenly? Like he was trying to protect it, and he's just completely fluffed it. So it's obviously taking longer to heal than we think. I mean, realistically, he's obviously been, he's had a good few weeks off now. It should be fine, but he has only signed a 1-year extension. He will be 40 this time next year, 39, 40. It's probably going to be his last year, but I do think that Sinisalo has shown that he's a more than capable number one when he needs to stand in. We had a lot of concern about him. I know Terry was very vocal, Liam, about when we're going to get a chance to see this guy. One day we're going to have to rely on him. He did finally get that chance. I think he took it pretty well. And if it's a case of he has to come in and play, then I don't think we need to be too worried there. I think Sinisalo is a great choice. So I think logically, League Cup, Scottish Cup, I think Sinisalo has to play every game. Even if we were to draw Rangers at any stage along the way, or a trip to Tynecastle, or a trip to Pittodrie, play Sinisalo in all the League Cup games and Scottish Cup games. And then in the league, you can start to bleed him in there, because the theory is he will be the new goalkeeper. A year from now, he will become the number one. But I think, he's shown enough to justify playing in all the cup games, mate.
I thought his distribution was good as well. I think if we're looking to play a faster paced play it out from the back, he's better with the ball at his feet than Schmeichel as well. I think that was a real rookie mistake with the coaching guys and the backroom staff and the medical and whoever it was that sort of released Schmeichel to play. Of course, a goalie is going to want to play in a final, and they're going to tell you never. But we've got sports science. Supposedly we are one of the leading teams in Scotland, sports science. And, we take that seriously and we use that for medicals and all that sort of stuff. But where was that? Where was that when you've got a goalkeeper that is having pain or difficulty diving to one of his sides or his non-preferred side? And you're right. It goes right through the whole team, because right through Rodgers having that information and knowing that stuff, and maybe not having the guts or just to make that change before the penalties. I think did we have one last change left, Phil? I think we did, right?
So in extra time, we definitely brought on Jeffrey Schlupp in extra time, because he hit the crossbar, didn't he? With that fair play, that was a raspberry shot. He was unlucky there, and for all the bad that Jeffrey Schlupp did in his loan spell when he was definitely not good, that was so unlucky. And a couple inches lower, he won that final. But I'm pretty sure I think he was the 6th substitution, if I remember right. But you definitely get an extra sub. See if you've used your 5 subs in the 90 minutes. When you go extra time, you do get allowed one more. But I think Schlupp was the last one. But he should have done a Louis van Gaal from the 2014 World Cup. just mess with Aberdeen. But he's not. I said it at the time. I feel like in Brendan's mind, and even in the players that are out in the park, they didn't think it was going to go to penalties. See the way that they were just nonchalantly, just not having any urgency. I just felt like they didn't even contemplate the idea that this was going to go to penalties, and of course it did. And yeah, in the end, we were sucker punched, but that's what it is. It's done now. We just have to live with it. But no, I think he could have, if he knew that information about him not wanting to dive to his right, and you're correct, and it was said in one of the comments, well, the keeper's going to say he wants to play anyway. He's going to tell Brendan what he wants to hear. But I feel like the manager needs to pull rank and just say, no, especially looking at the goal we conceded. If you use your own eyes, you can see the goal we conceded. It was an absolute shambles. Surely that should have set an alarm bell off in Brendan's head that something's not right with Casper here, and I need to take the decision out of his hands. But he didn't. In the end, I say we lost and it's done now. But yeah, I do think the Sinisalo, Jim C. again there, the boys ready. And I think the cup games, throw him in there next season, regardless of who we draw. I think he's more than capable.
I mean, even if it's just, if you do put him in and say he does become our number one goalkeeper, he's got Schmeichel there beside him and that on the bench as well, that's in the change room, that can talk him through these big games. Schmeichel's been a big game player all his life. He's played at highest level, right? So to have somebody like that, that gives him an opportunity to really develop, and like take on almost like an apprenticeship where he's learning from one of the best. And I think you look at this season as it's a crossing over. You're passing the gloves on to the guy that's going to take over, and you have to make every opportunity so that when it is his time, it's his time, and we're not prolonging it or extending Schmeichel where it could end up that sentimentality could hurt us. We have to look at it, okay, what's best for Celtic right now? And if that means Schmeichel has to bow out early because maybe he doesn't recover for that injury, then that's what you have to do, and that's why you're the top paid manager in the league. You make the decisions, totally. And you come up with these solutions, and you act on it. You act on it.
No, definitely. B's put up a good comparison about Paddy Bonner was finished in '94. If I remember right, Paddy Bonner's contract was up at the end of the '94 season. He went to the World Cup as a free agent, and Tommy Burns re-signed him right away. Was one of the first things Tommy Burns did when he took over the manager job that summer. And it was Paddy Bonner was definitely past it at that stage. Sometimes you've just got to know and make that decision. You're right. He is the manager. Brendan Rodgers, he gets paid the big wage. It's up to him to be a bit ruthless. We've seen in the past he's ruthless enough with guys we talked about earlier on, the Rocky, with Lagerbielke, and his first spell with Sviatchenko. He was ruthless with him after one mistake. So it's like,
Chris Cummins,
Charlie Mulgrew, Anthony Stokes, all three of them were ousted right away as soon as he came in. So where is that? That's the Brendan Rodgers we need to see this coming season. Ruthless, because we've got to be wary of the threat from across the city. At the moment, we don't know what that'll be, but in good time, we'll see what they're going to do as well. But that's another hour and 15 minutes. These Friday shows are getting that wee bit longer. And during pre-season as well, when there's very little to talk about, we're coming on here, we're doing an hour and 15, an hour and 20 minutes every Friday. So we're getting in a wee routine now. So we're pulling it out the bag. But yeah, we will head off. The next time we'll be on, let me see, because again, we're not really into a full schedule yet because it's still pre-season. But I do believe our next game is Tuesday night. We're playing Cork City in the Cork City Cup, whatever it's called. I saw today that it's on Premier Sport. So I've got access to Premier Sport. I will speak to Terry and see if he fancies doing our first post-match show for a pre-season game, just to get back into the swing of things. I'll see if he's up for it. If he's up for doing that, maybe on Tuesday night we'll have a post-match show for that one, if we can make it work. If not, though, say we debuted TikToking through the week. We that was the new show that we brought out as well. We did that on Tuesday. Connor stepped in and hosted that. I think he did a very good job. I've said to Connor enough times, I say, you're actually really good at hosting. So, and I thought he was very, very good in the seat. So, yeah, we'll see maybe an episode of TikTok will pop up. But do you know how you'll know when there's a new episode? You have to hit the subscribe button, you have to hit the bell notification, and then you will see when, obviously, we're going to go live. But yeah, this is another Friday feeling. We will head off now. So, I believe Celtic did win as well, 1-0 tonight. We didn't even touch on that, but from what I gather from the comments, it wasn't exactly a great game. And I saw the word horseshoe passing coming up as well. Horseshoe passing, that term that you like to use. A bit of that was coming up as well in some of the comments I saw. So maybe it was a good thing we didn't see it tonight, Liam. But yeah, we did win the game, I do believe. But yeah, Tuesday night, I would expect Celtic to put a few more first teamers, get a bit more minutes in the legs and against Cork City. And yeah, we'll head off now. So enjoy the rest of your night, guys. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Enjoy the rest of your day, Liam. You still got your whole day ahead of you. And yeah, hit the like button on the way out. Hit the subscribe button if you've not done so yet. Help us get some traction in the old algorithms. And yeah, we shall see you on the next one, guys. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you later.